this issue of effective teachers and quality teaching, I'm beginning to be of the mindset, and I will say that I got a little bit influenced by Secretary Arne Duncan the other day in listening to him. And there's this way in which we focus in on one aspect. So, we'll say, okay, is it the working conditions? And so we'll work on that element of it. And or are we going to raise salaries? And so the sense of priority, I know that priority has to be created, but I'd actually like to take a step back. And I'd like to look a little bit more clear at the lay of the land in terms of what are we talking about. So I believe that teachers should be given the greatest opportunities and the greatest conditions to be able to do their craft at the highest level. I believe that teachers who are new should get particular types of supports. I believe that teachers that have been mid-range 5 to 7 years and maybe struggling with certain things within their craft should get a certain kind of attention. So this brings up this issue then of staff evaluation. So I believe that there's some teachers that leave this district or decide not to teach because they didn't get an evaluation for 3 to 4 years. Because they didn't feel like they had the place or the opportunity or the support to grow in their field. And so could that be the strategy then to retain, is using evaluation in some kind of way? The idea of, we have tenure though. What is tenure? How is tenure really supportive of our profession in a certain kind of way? Do people get tenure after just 2 to 3 years for holding the course and holding on? Or is it that they're getting tenure because they've contributed something to the field, or they've done something around students, that there's promise, that there's people that have actually been supporting their growth and their development? Working conditions, we are not in, I think the model, and so here's some of my challenge around collective bargaining units. We use a union model right now that is kind of modeled off of an industrial union, right, with widgets and unsafe working environments, and I'm not going to be one that supports that you get combat pay, for example, to work in West Oakland. It bothers my gut to think of it in that particular kind of way. But is there some kind of scaffolding that needs to happen, or some kind of focus that might need to happen in order to make harder to work in schools have greater conditions? So again, my sense of stepping back and doing some real clear mapping and assessment of environments, and probably the last thing is to really figure out where the space is for teachers to really talk about those conditions. Because I have never, it's interesting, probably in like fishbowls at Goal or schools, Small Schools Foundation, Oakland Schools Foundation, those are the places in the last 2 to 3 years where you begin to hear some very clear conversations with teachers around those conditions and the changes that need to happen. And I think that we need to have more dialogue within a district kind of setting to change that. So we just had a teachers convention. So I will support those types of conversations and dialogues to happen in that way. Teacher salary, quickly, I think that, again, for me, it keeps kind of going back to this evaluation thing that I'm playing with in my head. And I think that, I believe that we can actually support teachers that are doing their craft really well. In West Oakland, we're about to do a STEM corridor. We need the best math teachers to show up and be a part of that. We need the best folks that can understand technology and incorporate that in a real way. And I have no problem whatsoever at looking at the fact that they can get paid at a different rate or salary than someone who might not have that same kind of skill. So I want us to be able to engage with our teaching force and our educators in a real way that really values who they are and what they're bringing to the table.
Just to follow up on that last piece around making sure that our best math teachers show up for the STEM corridor. You're in the role now.
Right.
What are you doing? What are you going to do to make sure that happens?
Okay. So I get to be really transparent, right? And it's filmed. So I absolutely support The superintendent's direction around taking some executive order to go inside of the contract and create TSAs, teachers on special assignment, at our large high schools that we've just done the restructuring and the transformation work around, that decision in October. So there are going to be teachers on special assignment that are going to be at McClymonds High School, and they have a different contract. They have a different expectation being put out there for them. The bar has been raised. So their work hours, the content in which they're supposed to deliver, the nature of their contract is one in which it is a yearly contract. And so evaluation will happen for these particular teachers in our system. And so I'm very excited about watching that and making sure that that's done with the highest of integrity, because I believe that that's where we're going to see teachers step up, and we're going to see a great number of folks be able to contribute to this transformation that we're saying that we must have. What happens in our secondary is going to very much impact what happens throughout the district. So then my risky one, Tony took the risk on TSAs in high schools. The risk piece that I'd like to actually engage in is, can I get teachers on special assignment from my pre-K through my 8th grade in West Oakland? Can I begin to look at teachers that are actually going to be coming into this system next year with a very clear focus on how it is they're going to integrate literacy and science? That there's some people that have thought about that, who've done it before, who are interested in coming into this situation and doing that work. That will be very difficult to, I think, to sell in some ways, right? We're still not comfortable really with this TSA at the high school level. My goodness, to think about doing our whole corridor like that will be very challenging. But I would like very much to put that on the table. If we can do the negotiations that we're starting to do, and conversations we're starting to do with charter schools around innovation and how to understand and learn what they're doing there, why can't we do that internal to our own system? So I will be pushing on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.